Hello and welcome everybody to the 54th International Ski Congress. The rotation dictates that this year's Congress is online, so I want to welcome all of those who have joined us around the world. Indeed, we have people joining us from every continent on Earth except Antarctica. Welcome also to the FIS Council who are here in Zurich with me today. Item 6 on the agenda is the President's report, so I will say most of my comments until then. But right at the start of this Congress, I want to thank each and every one of you who have played their part in the incredible season we've just had. We did take it to the next level, and that is thanks to your energy, your efforts, and your vision. And I want to remember too those who have left us since our last meeting in 2022. Let's take a minute to honor all those in the FIS family who are no longer with us. Thank you for showing your respect. And now, I would like to officially open this 2023 International Ski Congress. Now on to the business of the meeting, but first we would like to address some housekeeping points with you presented by Niklas Karlsson, as well as a legal introduction from Dr. Stefan Netzler. Niklas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to the Council members here in Zurich and welcome to the FIS family online. All National Ski Association delegates should be logged in and watching via the Zoom link. Voting members should also be logged in to the Lumi platform for voting. We advise you to keep the links that you use to access this close by in case you are accidentally disconnected during the Congress. Then you can easily and quickly log back on again. The President will be asking for some open votes by a show of hands on non-contentious issues during this Congress. This will assist us in the terms of time and allow us to concentrate on the more essential part of this meeting. You should be logged in as NSA, last name, first name. And if you need now to change it, it's easily done in Zoom. If an open show of hands vote is requested, please clearly and physically raise your hand to appear in your camera image on Zoom. The President will be able to see you all on these big screens we have in the room here. If you want to take the floor to ask a question or a point of order, then I ask you to use the raise hand function of Zoom. Please only unmute your microphone when the President addresses you and gives you the floor to speak. There may be a small delay before you are seen and heard by the Congress. It is important that all delegates keep their webcams on, the sound muted unless given the floor. As all voting members should already be aware, we are using a state-of-the-art secure online secret ballot voting system for formal votes during the Congress. The ability to vote and the voting screens will only be available to those members who have logged on with voting rights. The system being used is provided by Lumi UK, who are world leader in this field. Voting will be scrutinized in the Lumi offices by 3 appointed scrutineers, and the whole process overseen by our legal counsel, Dr. Stefan Netzler, here in Zurich. I would now like to hand over to Dr. Netzler to take you through the legal aspects.
Mr. President, dear Council members here in Zurich and delegates attending the Congress online. The FIS Statutes adopted at the FIS Congress of 26 May 2022 govern today's Congress meeting. Today's Congress is the annual ordinary Congress according to Article 10.3.1 of the Statutes. It is held by video conferencing as provided by Article 10.3.3. The invitations, together with the Congress agenda and the supporting documentation, have been sent out to you in time, namely 1 month before today's meeting. To the quorum of attendance. The Congress can take valid decisions if 50% of all votes are present in person or online. Whether this is the case today and the Congress has met The required quorum of attendance is subject to a roll call, which is the next agenda item. The quorum of attendance may change if a member association leaves the Congress definitely. In such a case, the respective member association shall notify the Secretary General and log out of the Loomis system. We will then have to carry out a new roll call before the next voting round. Leaving the desk to grab a coffee or returning thereafter is not considered leaving the Congress. If a member association misses a voting because of a temporary absence of its delegate, that member association is deemed to have abstained from voting on that particular topic. A word to proposals and procedural motions. The Congress may take decisions only on the listed agenda points. This includes the proposal of the member associations and the Council which were submitted in time. Late proposals may be dealt with today only when a majority representing 2/3 of the votes cast by either the Council or the member associations present today have considered such proposal as urgent. That's Article 10.6.5 of the Statutes. Proposals have the purpose of bringing about a decision of the Congress on a specific matter of substance, as listed in Article 10.2.1 of the Statutes. Proposals must be distinguished from procedural motions, such as requesting open or secret voting, where such options are provided by the Statutes, or changing the sequence of the agenda items. Procedural motions require 50% plus one vote of all valid votes cast. For the sake of clarity, please note that the Statutes cannot be changed based on procedural motions. To the voting by the Loomis system, as said before, the Congress can vote either by the Loomis system or by show of hands. If a delegate or a council member asks for secret voting, the voting shall be carried out by the Loomis system. To the majority, the Congress makes decisions on the basis of a majority of more than 50% of all votes, of all valid votes cast, with the exception of changes of the Statutes, which require a majority of 2/3 of all valid votes cast. The voting, as said repeatedly before, may be by show of hands or by the Loomis system. If the voting is carried out by show of hands, the votes will not be counted one by one. If voting by show of hands does not lead to a clear result, or if requested by any of the delegates, the voting will be carried out by the Loomis system. If the voting is carried out by Loomis, you will see all results of every voting on the screen. What is a valid vote? There is a voting. When there is a voting, you will be asked to accept or reject the proposal by checking the yes box or the no box before you submit the vote. Where there are two or more alternative proposals, you will be asked for checking the box with your preferred proposal before you submit the vote. There is no box to click if you abstain. You simply don't submit the ballot. Please note, during some training sessions, it was said in error that clicking an abstention box would be an option. This is not the case, and we apologize for the misunderstanding. The number of abstention is the difference between the valid votes cast and the number of votes registered by Loomis, and will also be shown on the screen. There are no elections on today's agenda. The council members are not entitled to vote. With one exception, in case of a tie, the President may cast a deciding vote. However, we will also ask you during the amendment of the Statutes to replace the deciding vote by a second round of voting. There will be minutes of this Congress meeting in English as provided by the Statutes. Any challenge of a decision of this Congress must submit it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport within 21 days from today and not upon receipt of the minutes. That's all I have to say. Back to you, Mr. President.
I would like to hold our first informal vote to ensure everyone is comfortable with the procedure. So for the sake of efficiency for all informal votes, you should only raise your hand if you are opposed to the proposal. Again, only if you are against the proposal should you raise your hand. Please make sure that your cameras are switched on, and if you're opposed to accepting the legal aspects as proposed by Dr. Nestle, please physically raise your hands now. So I see Mr. Tocci. You raised your hand. I think you need to unmute your microphone. May I repeat, this is a test. So if you are opposed to Dr. Netzler's proposals, you're supposed to raise your hand. If you agree with his proposals, there is no need to raise your hand. So, I repeat, those of you who are against, raise your hand. Okay? So in that case, what could you tell us your objections? So I start with Mr. Sargsyan. Mr. Sargsyan? Okay, Mr. Tocci, do you have a...
Don't understand the test or no?
Yes. So, just to verify here, are you against the proposals of Dr. Netzler? Mr. Sargsyan? Mr. Sargsyan, can you hear me? I think you are muted. I think you are muted. Okay. Just to make sure here that there are no misunderstandings, I repeat, please raise your hand if you are against Dr. Netzler's proposal. Only if you are against. If you're not, there's no need to raise your hand. Okay, I see no hands raised, so thank you for your support. Dr. Netzler's proposal has been approved, so let's move on with the next item on the agenda. Michel, over to you for our second agenda item, the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. President. This year we have been able to register delegates electronically, thanks to the Lumi platform. So we can proceed here without having to wait a response, except those instances where a delegate has not been confirmed as logged on. The names of the delegates are shown on the screen and will be noted in the minutes. To save time, I will only read the names of the nations and the number of votes each has. Should there be any discrepancy or what is shown on the screen, please inform us by raising your hand immediately. So I will now proceed with the roll call, which you can see now on the screen. Albania for 1 vote. Algeria for 1 vote. Andorra for 1 vote. Argentina for 2 votes. Armenia for 1 vote. Australia for 3 votes. Austria for 3 votes. Belgium for 1 vote. Bosnia-Herzegovina for 1 vote. Belarus for 2 votes. Bolivia for 1 vote. Brazil for 1 vote. Bulgaria for 2 votes. Canada for 3 votes. Chile for 2 votes. China for 3 votes. Croatia for 2 votes, Cyprus for 1 vote, Czechia for 3 votes, Denmark for 2 votes, Spain for 2 votes, Estonia for 1 vote, Finland for 3 votes, France for 3 votes, Great Britain for 3 votes, Georgia for 1 vote, Germany for 3 votes, Greece for 2 votes, Hong Kong for 1 vote, Hungary for 1 vote, India for 1 vote, Iran for 2 votes, Ireland for 1 vote, Iceland for 1 vote, Israel for 1 vote, Italy for 3 votes, Japan for 3 votes, Kazakhstan for 2 votes, Kyrgyzstan for 1 vote, Korea for 2 votes, Kosovo for 1 vote, Latvia for 1 vote, Lebanon for 2 votes, Liechtenstein for 1 vote, Lithuania for 1 vote, Luxembourg for 1 vote, Morocco for 1 vote, Mexico for 1 vote, Mongolia for 1 vote, Republic of North Macedonia for 1 vote, Montenegro for 1 vote, Monaco for 1 vote, Netherlands for 3 votes, Nepal for 1 vote, Norway for 3 votes, New Zealand for 2 votes, Pakistan for 1 vote, Poland for 3 votes, Portugal for 1 vote, Democratic Republic of Korea for 1 vote, Romania for 1 vote, South Africa for 1 vote, Russia for 3 votes, Slovenia for 3 votes, San Marino for 1 vote, and Serbia for 1 vote. Switzerland for 3 votes, Slovakia for 1 vote, Sweden for 3 votes, Thailand for 1 vote, Chinese Taipei for 1 vote, Turkey for 2 votes, United Arab Emirates for 1 vote, Ukraine for 2 votes, United States of America for 3 votes, and Uzbekistan for 1 vote. So, just waiting for the right number, I confirm the total number of voting delegates is 122. 122. Should there be any update of this number during the meeting, you will be informed, of course. Now, I conclude that roll call to give you the floor back, Mr. President.
Thank you, Michel. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. We have shared the agenda within the statutory deadline and have not received any comments or feedback. So unless someone has a comment, we will now hold an informal vote to approve the agenda. Please raise your hand now if you are opposed to approving the agenda. I repeat, if you are opposed to the agenda, you should raise your hand. Okay, I see three hands raised. I believe that is not sufficient to post the agenda, so therefore the agenda is approved. Next point. So the following individuals have been proposed as certified tellers and notary public. The certifier, Rory Tapner. Notary public, Edward Gardner. And as tellers, Andrew Smith and Susan Gaho and Kate Harding. If you are opposed to accepting any of the above-named individuals as tellers and certifier, please raise your hand now. I see no hands raised, so thank you for your support. This has been approved, and let's move on with the next item on the agenda. Item number 5.1, the minutes of the previous Ordinary Congress 2022. We have shared the minutes with all the members and have not received any comments or feedback. So please raise your hand if you are opposed to accepting the minutes. So I see 3 hands raised. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. Let's hear what the objections are. So, Mr. Lunde.
Thank you. From the Norwegian Ski Federation, we have noted to FIS that there's a mistake in point 16.1, election of the president. It is written in the minutes that the Norwegian delegate left the room before the voting began. This is not correct. Norway stayed in the room during the voting. This has also been noted FIS in written. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Suger. Mr. Suger. Need to unmute your microphone.
Now it works. Dear Mr. President, dear FIS Council, dear friends, I had a question to item number 3, but unfortunately I was not able to raise the question. So my request is to coming back to item number 3. And first of all, we would like to thank you very much for sending out the agenda. We have studied the request and proposal regarding the amendments of the statutes very well. We have noticed that some topics addressed in request of certain NSA are also addressed in the proposal of the FIS, and the opposite around, such as, for example, the legal safety committees and others. This may lead to contradiction in the result. So therefore, it is a question to the agenda. Please allow us, how do you tend to proceed more in detail? We are interested to know how you tend to organize the votings especially under item 7, the FIS Statutes proposal. Thank you.
So we will address that when we get to the various proposals. Mr. Amsal. Mr. Amsal. Okay, Mr. Amsal from Algeria. Okay, I take it you have no further question. So on that basis, I think we can consider the minutes approved. Thank you. Let's continue. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, partners, we're not together in person, but it's fantastic to be with you all today to look back, to take stock, and to celebrate the season. Now you will have your highlights, and I certainly have mine. From Michaela Schifrin smashing those world records that we thought were unbeatable, to Simone Billy reaching superhuman speeds, to seeing the para-athletes officially joining the FIS family and including freeride. From World Cup festivals to World Ski and Junior Ski Championships, it's been a thrilling season. But of course, there were lows as well as highs. The warm weather in December and January was a stark reminder of the impact that climate change is already having. Slopes closed, some resorts shut entirely, events impact. So we're truly grateful to all the national ski associations and organizers who through hard work and imagination managed to keep the show on the road. Another hurdle was the CAS case, which sadly cost FIS and all its members a lot of time and energy. I don't want to rake over old ground here, but democracy has spoken, and the clear conclusion of this case allow us to draw a line under these difficult times and move forward together, united for the future and for the good of our sport. Today, I want to briefly run through our 3 strategic priorities and the progress we made on each this year. Priority 1, strong governance. Having a solid system of governance is not just about ticking boxes. It's the foundation of everything that we want to achieve. We want FIS to lead the way on integrity, on inclusion, and yes, on sustainability. You all know this is a passion of mine. That's why we made some big changes, signing up to the UN Sports for Climate Action Framework, pledging to halve our carbon footprint by 2030. Establishing the Rainforest Initiative, which means we can proudly call ourselves the first climate-positive sports federation. And setting up a new sustainability unit under FIS. Our critics have accused us of greenwashing, an entirely frivolous accusation, we might add. They ask, how can you make a difference while still putting on ambitious events? Well, Green Planetza, for example, showed how. It showed that you can radically cut the footprint of major events. And we want this to be the norm, not the exception. That's why we've been putting together a sustainability toolkit to help all NSAs and organizers to cut their footprints. Because this has got to be a team effort, it will require everyone in the skiing and snowboarding community to step up. And judging from the many conversations I've had on this subject, I'm confident that the snow sports family will do just that. So governance is priority 1, and priority 2 is growth. I made no secret about my ambitions for FIS and for snow sports. This is a time of enormous opportunity. There are new technologies to be harnessed, new audiences to inspire, and new markets to explore. And in order for us to have full control of this destiny, we need to control of our content and our media rights. We're doing it to unleash the enormous potential in the way we market and package and promote our sports. And we're doing it to build value for our partners, our NSAs, and above all, our athletes. Because the athletes are at the heart of everything we do. For them, we need to aim high. So it's our responsibility to build a media and television rights framework that also works for them. One that better promotes what they do, lets snow sports shine brighter on the world stage, and lets our athletes finally earn what they deserve. We're doing it for them and the successful future of our sport. So the establishment of FIS Media and Marketing last year is central to our plans. Already they're firing on all cylinders, signing up new sponsors, developing new ones, and launching new platforms, new content on social media, generating millions of views this season, even leaving a mark in the Chinese market. It's a fantastic start, and believe me, we're just getting started. Our third and final priority is the expansion of our sport. We want to spread our passion for snow sports around the world, reaching into different regions and countries, showing that nothing should stop you enjoying the snow or even competing in it. So the transfer of parasports from the IPC is a big part of this agenda. An overwhelming majority of our members voted for this change because they share our vision of being a modern, inclusive, and diverse organization. We're expanding the FIS family so there is something for everyone. And this season we were delighted to acquire the Freeride World Tour. It's fun, it's dynamic, it's innovative, and it has a significant following among younger generations, which is exactly who we need to engage. As more and more young people develop a passion for snow sports, FIS is encouraging them not just to watch, but to join in. This year saw another hugely successful Bring Children to the Snow initiative, with 126 organizations in 41 countries taking part. Another fantastic initiative was the movie Play. Together with snowboard champion Pat Bergner and charity partner Right to Play, we traveled to Lebanon to host a Snow Kids event for refugee children. The film shows the power of snow sports and it can change lives. And it had a great reception with the UN and the IOC. As well as this, the FIS development program has been running an excellent range of activities to bud new Michaela Schifrins and Simone Belize to learn their stuff. So it's a busy and exciting season, and there is much to look forward to. 24 will bring us not only the Winter Youth Olympics, but the 100th anniversary of FIS. And you can be assured we will celebrate this milestone in fine style. In fact, what better way to celebrate our century than with the new launch of the brand new FIS Games? Next spring, we announced the host of the first ever FIS Games in 28. And 5 years from now, the curtains will rise on this unprecedented festival of snow sports. This will be a chance for all our athletes to shine. Olympians, Paralympians, speed skiers, freeriders, telemark champions. So I'm truly excited of what's to come. And the journey to 28 has already started. So let me finish today by saying thank you to everyone in the snow sports family, to our athletes, their support teams, the organizers, our partners and sponsors, to the NSAs, the judges, technical delegates, and of course, the team at FIS. Thank you for all you've done. This season was truly a team effort. Together we've achieved great things, and only together we can continue to take skiing and snowboarding to the next level. Thank you. As we move on to agenda item 7, I would like to once again ask Stefan Netzle to take the floor, as he will guide us through the various proposed amendments and voting procedures. Over to you, Stefan. And in order to speak on any topic, please use the raise hand function, and we will call on you to address the General Assembly. You will then be able to unmute yourself and address the Congress.
Thank you very much. Item 7 is the amendment of the FIS Statutes. The President has just asked me to present the proposals for the amendment of the FIS Statutes. All proposals are contained in the Congress book or the last-minute proposals which you received. Last-minute proposals are subject to Article 10.6.5 of the Statutes, and they need the approval of either 2/3 of the Council or 2/3 of the Congress. I can assure you that the Council has approved these last-minute proposals by the necessary majority. We will address all proposals by topic. We have regrouped them for easier understanding, and not strictly by the number of the proposals in the Congress book. But all the slides contain references to the respective proposals in the Congress book. To change statutory amendments, statutory provisions, the statutes require a majority of 2/3 of all valid votes cast. We have, and that might answer or will answer the question of Mr. Züger, we have in certain proposals, we have different proposals for amendments of the statutes of a certain provision. Here we proceed as follows. We will first seek a decision which would be your preferred amendment. This requires 50% plus one vote, simple majority. Then in a second voting round, you will be asked whether you want to replace the existing provision in the statutes by the preferred amendment, and this requires 2/3 of the valid votes cast. There are several proposals which are, let's say, of editorial significance, wording, and or consequences of other amendments. But we will not put that under a general clause and say this is just editorial. So we'll vote on all of them individually. The President will ask you after every proposal whether this should be done by vote or by show of hand, or whether you would like to go into a Lumi voting. That might be the case when we have several proposals to one agenda or one provision in the statutes. Okay, let's start with the amendments. The first one is, can I have the slide? Oh, well, I have it in my own hands. That's Article 4. Here we have a proposal from Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, 7.1.5, that we should not longer translate all these minutes and official documents into various languages, but only issue them in English. That it will require a change of Article 4.2. This is to be deleted, but also 10.3.9, and 10.11.2. So we vote for all of them together. So everywhere it should be only noted that the language in which these documents shall be produced is English. This can be voted by hand, I assume.
Yes. So this proposal is supported by the Council. So
then shall I do the? Are you?
Please go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. An explicit mandate, just to make it very clear. So who is against this amendment of these three articles? Please raise your hand. Okay. I don't see any opposition. Then this amendment is accepted. The next one is Article 6. That's a proposal by the Council. Article 6(1)(18).
We need a slide.
Yeah,
We need a slide.
I have it here.
Yep, okay.
I'm the
Sorry.
slide master. Okay. Here, in the existing statutes, we say we encourage all member federations to do with respect to safeguarding. Now, FIS proposes to require all member associations to establish and maintain policies for the prevention of harassment and abuse and promote the welfare of young and adult participants. All amendments are in bold letters. So, if the President agrees, then I would suggest that this is also done by show of hands, since we have not received any opposition to this provision. I see no opposition. So please raise your hand if you are against the amendment of Article 6.1.18.
So, Mr. Amsal, are you against? This could be a mistake, but either way, I think we have a resounding majority.
Yes. Now we come to a number of provisions related to the FIS Congress. The first one is also a proposal by the FIS Council. There are 3 small changes in Article 10.1, namely 10.11, 10.12, and 10.137. That these are more of a editorial change of the wording. We have not received any comments. The deletion of subject to Article 10.9.4 refers to a vote that we have later. That is, we will no longer stick to the deciding vote of the President in case of a tie. So I suggest that we do that also by vote by show of hands, if you agree, Mr. President. Is there anyone against these small 3 changes in Article 10.1? Please raise your hand. I do not see any hands raised. Then these changes are accepted. Then we go to the authority and function of the Congress, also a proposal by the FIS Council. Namely a change in the wording of 10.2.1.2 and 10.2.1.3. It is for the Congress to receive and review the annual budget. It is not the decision-making power of the Congress, because the decision on the annual budget is with the Council according to Article 11.337. So there is no change in the competence, but it was unclear who has the last word, but statutes give it to the Council when it comes to the budget. The annual costs are approved by the Congress, and that will not change. So I suggest that since we have that this is subject to a voting by show of hands, if you agree, Mr. President.
Yes.
So if there is anyone against the amendment of 10.2 as shown on the screen, then please raise your hand. I do not see a raised hand. Then this amendment is deemed accepted. Then in 10.4, and there are more on changes of this kind, there has been a confusion between what is electronic voting and what is remote voting. and frankly, the statutes have not been 100% clear on that. We tried to eliminate this confusion. So using an electronic voting system like Lumi is always electronic voting, whether this is a Congress in person or whether this is a Congress by video conferencing. So that does not make a difference. Remote voting is something different. Remote voting is when the president sends out a letter or a request to all of you or to the council members with a simple question which should be responded by email, which is technically seen also an electronic way of voting, but is a different kind of voting. So that is voting by mail in the old days, but today voting by email, and that is a different animal. And that is reflected now in 10.4. So if you agree with the amendments in this article 10.4, I also suggest that this is done by voting by hand. If you do object to these amendments in 10.4, please raise your hand. I do not see any raised hands, so therefore these amendments are accepted. The next is a new proposal by the Council, namely we have not yet explicitly addressed what is a procedural motion in the statutes. So, and that's something we would like to clarify in the statutes, that what is a proposal, namely to change let's say, to aim at a decision on substance, on a specific topic, or what is just a procedural motion during the Congress, and that is now in the text of the new 10.5.3 proposed by the Council. I also suggest that this is probably not disputed, so therefore I recommend to do it by show of hands. If you do not agree with this amendment of 10.5, then please raise your hand. I do not see any raised hands, so then I deem this amendment as accepted. We go to the next proposal. That's also a procedural matter, also a proposal by the FIS Council. What happens with proposals, not with procedural motions, with proposals? So the Council proposes to reduce the limit, the time limit from 5 to 4 months until when such proposal have to reach the Congress. And what shall be done with this proposal next, and what the roles of the committees and the Council are, and who can make recommendations. So that the amendments are in bold letters. So, as always, you can, of course, raise your hand and ask questions if there is any matter which is not clear. But otherwise, then I would suggest that if there is anyone against this proposal, please raise your hand now. I don't see any hands raised, so this deemed accepted, this proposal. Then the next one is just one word, namely we, as a consequence of what I explained just before, that electronic system was not enough. There was a gap. Electronic voting system it must be. So is there anyone against this amendment? Please raise your hand. I don't see any raised hands, so this is accepted, and we will continue. Ten 10.9 is not only a correction of wording, but it is explicitly set out what has to be done with the roll call, quorum, and how the majority is counted. This is actually on 2 slides, and 10.9.2.
Should we return to that point?
Do not read, because we have a last-minute proposal on 10.9.2, so we only address 10.9.1, and 10.9.3 we come back to 10.9.2. So the aim is that the aim of these provisions is that we have the same attendance quorum in all kinds of Congress meetings or remote voting. It's always 50% of all votes are present in person or attending by video conference or are participating in a remote voting. So there is no different attendance quorum any longer. That is always the same. So let me stop here and vote on 10.9.1 and 10.9.3, disregard 10.9.2. Is there anyone against that amendment of 10.91 and 9.3? If not, then I continue with further provision of 9.4 and 9.5. 9.4 says what happens if a member association does not participate in a particular round of voting, and that this should be considered as an abstention if that member association has not decided and also explicitly explained that it is leaving the Congress. So that should clarify something which was a situation a year ago. And 10.9.5 is, as I addressed before, the President shall no longer have a deciding vote in case of a tie, but then a second round of voting shall be initiated on the same subject after a period of consideration, which may at the same event or even later. So that is not up to the President to say yes or no, but this remains with the majority of the Congress. So if you do not oppose to 10.9.4 and 10.9.5, I will put them together in one package and ask if you have any objection. Please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. So we come back to 10.9.3 at the end.
10.9.2.
Sorry, yeah, okay. Then we have an editorial amendment of 10.10.2, which is about the election of the President. It's purely a matter of wording. The candidate for, so there shall be a secret voting and not a secret ballot and not only a ballot. And that the candidate for the office of the President is, so the office is added, but nothing about the majority and the votes which is needed, the number of votes which is needed for election. Just the wording of these articles. If you are opposed to these amendments, please raise your hand. Similarly, there was an amendment necessary because of this change of electronic and or clarification of electronic and remote in 10.3.3 and 10.10.3.7. which is highlighted or in bold letters. You see also an amendment of 10.9.3.2, which refers to the para-athlete focus group that has been in your Congress book, and that's why we have to bring it up again. This has in the meantime become obsolete. As you will see, there will be a representative not by the para-athletes athletes focus group, but by para snow sports. So that is now established, and we will vote on that later on, but the meaning remains the same. But since it has been in the Congress book, we found it necessary that we address it here because it's not exactly what was published. So if you agree, if you do not oppose to these clarifications in this Article 10.10.3, then please raise your hand. Or if you have any questions there too. Is that a question or no? If not, then this is deemed accepted, and we go on to the Congress minutes. Here we have this amendment, which comes from. Oops. Yeah.
The page. Change the page.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes, here we come to a proposal from Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. That is proposal number 7.1.4. It is proposed to set a time limit for the submission of the Congress minutes, namely 90 days. You already accepted that the minutes shall be in English only, so that is what was deleted in 10.11.2. The Council supports this proposal by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. If you oppose to this proposal, then please raise your hand. I do not see an objection, so then this proposal is deemed to be accepted by the Congress. So we continue with the amendment of statutory provisions related to the FIS Council. But let me first just interrupt and ask, to this moment we have decided quite a bit now. Are there any questions or unclarities that we should address now before it's, or then otherwise I will just continue. Okay, then we go to the amendments relating to the Council. There is a change necessary because of the number of the Council members. Just as I said before, an athlete representing para snow sports will join the athlete representatives in the Council, and this requires an amendment of the statutes. If there is no opposition, or if there is opposition to this point, please raise your hand. Okay. Then this is accepted. As a consequence, 11.2.1 becomes obsolete. That was in the Congress book, but since the para snow sports representative is now established, this 11.2.1 is no longer necessary. Eleven 3 is necessary. There are some clarifications needed. The 11.3.1 is a matter of wording of English language also, and 11.3.3.4 is necessary because the Council does not only review, approve, or reject proposal of the standing committees, but of all committees that are making such proposals to the Council. So this includes all committees reporting to the Council, not only the standing committees. The last one, a decision of a governing body. We realized that this term governing body is not used except in this provision and is not necessary therefore. So if you oppose to these changes in rather editorial nature in 11.3, please raise your hand. If not, then we go forward. This is deemed accepted, and we go forward to the next one. Here we have the first proposal, namely 11.4.11, is a consequence of the introduction of the athlete representative of para snowsport. That is certainly not disputed, but we have a proposal for which we have two versions, namely one proposal by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, as you can see in the Congress book, page 19. It also sets a time limit of 21 days for Council minutes, and that they should be approved in the next meeting of the Council. This is different with the proposal of the FIS Council, which does not have a specific time limit, but says that this should be as soon as possible, as it was already in before, and the approval, the Council accepts that this must be approved, and that it shall be published, and that is the same text as in the proposal by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. So does anyone want to amend or add something from the proposing ski associations? So if not, we have to go to the LUMI voting system. Namely, the first voting is, if we change the existing wording, would you like it to be changed by the Austrian, German, and Swiss proposal, or by the FIS Council proposal? The next one will then be the winner, will then require 2/3 to become part of the statutes. So now we should vote by LUMI on 11.4.1. Can I hand over to you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Nessler. And the motion to vote on is as follows. Do you prefer the amendment of Article 11.4.1.4 as proposed by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, or as proposed by the FIS Council? And the vote is now open. The poll will close in 30 seconds. The poll will close in 10 seconds. The poll is now closed and the results will shortly be displayed. Results of the voting were as follows. There was 123 possible votes and 112 valid votes were cast. As proposed by Austria, Germany and Switzerland, 53, 47.32%. As proposed by the FIS Council, 59, 52.68%. Thank you, Mr. Nestler.
Thank you. This leads us to a second round, namely whether the statutes shall be changed by the proposal of the FIS Council, which was the winning text. This requires 2/3 of the valid votes cast. Lumi, may I ask you to do the voting on the change of the statutes?
Thank you, Mr. Nestler. And the next motion to vote on is as follows. Do you approve the amendment of Article 11.4.1.4 by the text which got the majority in the first round, in the first voting round, and the poll is now open? Poll will close in 30 seconds. Poll will close in 10 seconds. Poll is now closed and the results will be shortly displayed. Results of the voting were as follows. There was 123 possible votes and 111 valid votes were cast. Yes, 104, 93.69%. No, 7, 6.31%. Thank you, Mr. Nestler.
Thank you very much. So the proposal by the FIS Council has been approved and will become part of the statutes. The next two changes are, again, more a consequence of previous changes and editorial changes. The first one is because of the increase of the number of council members, because of the third athlete representative from para snowsport. This has also an impact on the majority of the council decisions. That's 11.421 and 11.425 is a consequence of the clarification of remote voting and electronic voting. The provision concerns the majority reached by remote voting. If you, that is supported, brought forward by the council. If you object to these wordings or these amendments, please raise your hand. I do not see objections. Then we go to an amendment of the statutory provisions related to the EXCO. That's an English language change, namely shall record shall be replaced by takes the minutes of the EXCO. If you oppose to that amendment, then please raise your hand. I don't see any objection, so then this change has been approved. Then we have one amendment to the President, namely Article 13, and that is a consequence of the inclusion of para snow sports within FIS, namely that this is also in the responsibility of the President to represent FIS towards the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee. if somebody is against or a federation is against this wording, then please raise your hand. This is not the case. And now we come to some points which where we probably need Lumi more often. The changes related to committees. The first one, just to give you a little background, the National Ski Associations of Austria, Germany, and Switzerland requested that the Legal and Safety Committee and the Medical Committee should be reinstated as standing committees. And today they are not mentioned in the statutes, and they have been for a short while, namely half a year. These three associations require that this should be brought back to the statutes, and the proper place would be under the list of standing committees. The Council agrees in principle to bring these committees back to the statutes to give them the blessing of the Congress. However, it proposes to create a new category, namely expert committees, which gives also the committees and the Council more flexibility more flexibility with respect to these committees. We would then also suggest to include the Anti-Doping Advisory Board, which is now listed in the statutes, because that is mandatory for all signatories of the World Anti-Doping Code. There must be such a board. It must be reflected in the statutes. But the opinion of the Council was, let's create a separate group of expert committees, and that is the proposal of the Council. The question is now, there have been discussions in advance also in the Council, and I asked the representatives of the three national ski associations whether they, in light of the proposal by the FIS Council, whether they like to maintain their proposal or whether they withdraw the proposal in case this proposal of the Council will be accepted by the Congress. May I ask, Mr. Scherer, please. You are muted. We can't hear you, Mr. Scherer. Mr. Scherer, I can't unmute you. Could you please unmute yourself? What can I do? One more, repeat. Mr. Scherer, we can't hear you. Mr. Scherer, we can't hear you. We couldn't hear one word. Muted. Mr. Scherer, we couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear one word, and nobody could hear you. Could you unmute you?
I think my understanding is that the proposal is not withdrawn based on input that I've had earlier on. So if we can't hear Mr. Scherer here, I would suggest that we proceed to hold the vote.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Lumi, can we have a voting on these articles? Huh? Now, Mr. Züger, would you like to say something?
I hope you hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Good. So I would just try to summarize what Germany, Switzerland, and Austria agreed in terms when it comes to this proposal. We would be ready to withdraw our proposal and support the FIS proposal in case there will be done one little adaptation in the Article 15.3.1.1 in the version of the last-minute proposals coming from FIS Council on page 4, meaning the sentence, and I read it now, the Legal and Safety Committee shall advise the Council and the FIS management on specific legal issues which are submitted to them from time to time in relation to legal questions concerning the safety of skiers and snowboarders, meaning deleting the words by the FIS management. And this last-minute proposal was already sent to the FIS Council members just before the meeting, before the Congress started this noon. So this is our agreed proposal we would like to bring in.
Yes, we cannot vote on conditional issues, but I propose that we do a voting on 9.
May I? I mean, it has to specify who can delegate specific legal issues to the Legal and Safety Committee. We can't leave that open because then in the context of the rest of that article, so it needs to have specificity so that it is either the FIS management or the council to give it proper context. So if you're happy to agree to that, then from the FIS Council's point of view, we're happy to proceed. And I should mention here that for everybody to know that the previous wording was accepted by the Council yesterday, and the representatives of the Austrian, Swiss, and German federations agreed in that Council meeting to withdraw this proposal.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your response. In our view, the experts of the Legal and Safety Committee are real experts and also can raise and bring up questions, legal questions concerning the safety of skiers and snowboarders. Therefore, we are clear the opinion that also they can bring in themselves. And for us, this is one reason we are in favor of deleting it. And the second is, and maybe you can bring in some explanation there, what is the FIS management, or who is the FIS management and can submit these special issues?
The FIS management is people. It could be the Secretary General, it could be the Assistant Secretary General, the people in the Athletes Health Unit, it could be the President, anyone in the FIS staff. So it's just to make it clear here who would instruct the Legal and Safety Committee. If they want to make proposals, or anyone else wants to make proposals, there's nothing in our statutes to stop anyone from making proposals. And we will always listen to good proposals.
Do I get it right? So by FIS management, this means everybody who gets a salary from FIS, and brings me just to the question, the council belongs not to the FIS management, correct?
No, as I said, the FIS management and the council. So either can instruct for advice. Both of them.
Okay, thank you for this explanation. In this sense, then it is clear if it is both the Council and the FIS management. Then we would withdraw our proposal.
Okay, thank you. Next point, Dr.
So
Netzlaff.
that means, now going back to the formal side,
We need to vote.
9.4 and 9.5, you withdraw your proposal to that, to the category where the Legal and Safety Committee is placed, you withdraw that as well, is that correct? So we will introduce the Legal and Safety Committee together with the two other committees into the statutes under the title Expert Committees. Is that's what you agree now, under what was discussed before? Is that okay? That is my understanding.
Yes. Mr. Süger.
I have to say it is quite difficult because you have always to unmute me, and it is not that I'm not capable to unmute myself. Just to make this clear, I wanted to say already and confirm, yes, we would withdraw our proposal.
Good. Okay, in this case, but we still have to vote whether the
And agree to the other one.
Okay, we come to that step by step. You know, since
So I assume here that you're also withdrawing the medical committee proposal in favor of the FIS Council proposal for the medical committee.
Same one. Can somebody unmute Mr. Züger?
Somehow the connection here to my place is not the best. I couldn't hear what you said the last minute.
What I said.
I'm not sure if it was my mistake or it is another issue which happened. But I couldn't hear what you respond to my last sentence.
So my question to you is if you are also withdrawing the proposal you made in relation to the medical committee.
Maybe I heard from other members that we cannot hear you. Other members not are with me in this room also don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
The question was whether you also withdraw your proposal regarding the wording of the medical committee in the same one.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
So we can vote on both.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, both.
So then
We can vote on both medical
even
committee.
more.
Yeah, even more, yes.
So we vote on the changes of Article 9.4 and 5. Then Article 15.2.9. (15.3) and 15.2.9. So everything which concerns the
the Legal and Safety Committee and the Medical Committee, the introduction of a new category, expert committees, and the task as described in the Congress book under proposal by the Council, by the FIS Council. So all together, is there, subject to what we have heard and discussed also between the President and Mr. Züger, are there any objections or further questions from your side? Are there any questions? If not, are there any objections? I don't see any hands raised, so, but thank you very much, Mr. Züger. That makes at least my life much easier. So then we have a question about which committees are established by Congress and which committees. Yes. This is also rather a editorial change. Which committees are established by Congress, namely standing and expert committees, and which committees are established by the Council. Those are the technical committees, subcommittees, and working groups. That needed clarification, and that they should be advisory in nature. That was already there, but has now been clarified that this applies also to subcommittees and working groups. Are there any questions? If not, are there any objections to this amendment of Article 15.1? If not, then this proposal is deemed accepted, and we have a related proposal. This comes from Germany and Switzerland. Namely, it is about the appointment of the chairs and members of the committees. Question, does this proposal still maintained by Germany and Switzerland? One hand. Yes, I see. That is. Yeah.
Mr. Amsal?
No, obviously not.
No.
But can I get a response from Germany and or Switzerland whether this, in light of what we just heard before, whether this proposal to Article 11.3.4 shall be maintained or not? That is the appointment of committee chairpersons and members. The difference between the NSA proposals and the proposal by the Council is that the Council says that has to be regulated in the terms of reference, and the proposal from the Germany and Switzerland says that this should not be, that any Council member should be able and allowed to make proposal for these positions. Can I, yeah, Mr. Schwarzbacher from Germany. Again.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Yes, the appointment should be maintained.
Germany and Switzerland, which explicitly entitles also the Council members to make proposals, and the other proposal by the FIS Council is that is the proposal of the President, subject to specific rules as set out in the statutes. Yes. Can I ask Lumi for a first voting round?
Thank you, Mr. Nestler. So if we now proceed to the voting, and the motion to vote on is as follows. Do you prefer the amendment of Article 11.3.4.5 and Article 11.3.4.6 as proposed by Germany and Switzerland, or as proposed by the FIS Council? And the vote is now open. The vote will close in 30 seconds. The vote will close in 10 seconds. The vote is now closed and the results will be displayed shortly.
No, yes and no.
So we're just verifying the results. Thank you.
So, Lumi, can you shed further light?
Apologies, that 1 second. It was just pulling through yes and no rather than as proposed by Germany and Switzerland or as proposed by FIS Council. So we're just correcting that now so we can display the correct results to you. Just one moment. We should be able to show you shortly.
Thank you for your patience. And if I could now read out the results. So the motion as proposed by Germany and Switzerland is 51 votes, 45.54%. And as proposed by the FIS Council, 61 votes, 54.46%. Thank you, Mr. Nestler.
Okay, thank you very much. We don't see the results on the screen.
Can you show the result? Can you show the results on the screen, please?
Thank you, Mr. Nestler. We were just preparing the results to display.
Okay.
Thank you. And the results are now displayed, which I have verified. Thank you.
Okay. I take note of the result of that. Yes, now we have to vote whether the text of the proposed by the FIS Council shall become part of the statutes, and this is a second round of voting. Please, Lumi, this is whether the delegates want to change the statutes based on the text of the Council.
Thank you, Mr. Nestler. And the next motion to vote on is as follows. You approve the amendment of Article 11.3.4.5 and 11.3.4.6 by the provision which got the majority in the first voting round, and the vote is now open. The vote will close in 30 seconds. The vote will close in 10 seconds. The vote is now closed and the results will be displayed shortly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nestler. And just to confirm the results of the voting as follows: yes, 109, 93.16%, no, 8, 6.84%. Thank you, Mr. Nestler.
Thank you. This appointment of the chairpersons of the committee's provision was part of Article 11, namely the competence of the Council. Now a very related provision is also in Article 15 when it comes to the committees. My question is, since it is essentially the similar or the same as we voted on before, my question goes to the proposing National Ski Association of Germany and Switzerland, whether they still want to have a voting on 15.1.4 or whether this is became obsolete based on the voting before.
So can we... Mr. Süger? I think we need to have his voice online.
So it worked. It took a bit longer until you unmuted me. Thanks for that. It becomes, in this sense, obsolete, and we don't have to vote on it.
Thank you very much for clarification. Then we have a proposal relating to the Finance Committee, Namely, the change is that the Finance Committee shall review the budget proposal and recommend that it is submitted to Congress for review. I again remind you that the approval of the budget is a competence of the Council. So this is just correcting an inconsistency in the statutes. So are there any questions to that? If not, I would propose to vote by by show of hands. Who is against this correction? Please raise your hand. Okay, we have one objection. That is one, two. I see one objection. Then this proposal of the FIS Council is approved. Would you like to make a comment, Mr. Züger? Since I see your hand displayed.
Now, thank you very much. It worked. Yeah, there we have a question in our view to this article 15.2.1. We are of the position that the wording shall not be changed. For the avoidance of doubt, the wording for us, it shall be the Finance Commission shall review the budget proposal before it is submitted to the Congress for approval. This is our understanding, and the wording as it is written is not clear for us, and therefore we are not in favor of this. Thank you.
Yeah, the point is that Article 11.337 of the statutes gives the Council the competence to approve the annual budget and present it to the Congress, and it was for that reason that Article 15.2.2.1 was adjusted. Otherwise, we would need a proposal to change the 11. Yeah, and we have. So, but I see your point. We have voted on that, and we move on. If you agree, Mr. President.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We have a further proposal by Austria and Switzerland that is 7.1.1 in the Congress book, and it gives the Congress, asks the Council to make a documentation and reflecting the proposal about the appointment of the members of the Audit Committee based on proposal by the NSAs in the Congress. I just remind you that we do have separate auditors elected by the Congress according to Article 10.2.1.11, and you will also exercise this voting today. So the Council does not support this proposal. So if the proposal, the proposal of Austria and Switzerland shall be upheld, and the Council shall be mandated to prepare a documentation on the right to propose members of the Audit Committee, then please raise your hand. I see nobody. One, yeah, okay, one. Mr. Chair, do you have a question or a comment?
Mr. Suger. Mr. Suger.
Thank you. We discussed it, and as mentioned already, we will withdraw this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then it's clear. Thank you very much. Then there is the next proposal relating to the audit committee, namely the replacement of the IFRS standards by the Swiss GAAP. This will be addressed by the treasurer later on, so we will not vote on this right now, but go to the next topic, and that is.
Okay.
And then we go to the next topic, namely the appointment of the independent ethics and compliance officer and the FIS ethics committee. There is, just for the information of background, there is a proposal from the NSA of Liechtenstein. It's in your Congress book, the proposal 717 and 718. And the core of this proposal was that the Council should reconsider whether this important function should be elected by the Congress, and that it should be safeguarded that these persons are truly independent from the FIS. There was no specific text provided by the NSA of Liechtenstein, but the Council took this up and discussed it thoroughly and came up with a proposal which, in the view of the Council, meets the requests from Liechtenstein, namely that the Congress is having the last word, means that the Congress is appointing the independent ethics and compliance officer, which is actually the investigator in ethics issues, upon proposal of the Council. So the last word here is with the Congress. Likewise, when it comes to the chairman of the ethics committee, also this is subject to appointment by the Congress and no longer the Council as it was before. Here, the Congress will confirm the appointment of the other members of the ethics committee which have been proposed by the Council. And the Council still has the duty to propose an independent ethics and compliance officer, as well as the chairperson of the ethics committee for appointment, and the Council appoints the other members of the ethics committee upon proposal of the chairperson of the ethics committee, subject to confirmation by the Congress. Also here, the Congress has the last word. Why the chairperson of the ethics committee? I think that the chairperson has a very important function and a central function, and the Council came to the conclusion that he must be a person that knows best who can be part of such a committee and can make the proposal, which can of course be overturned. So that was the proposal. We think that this complies with the requirements of the Liechtenstein proposal. May I ask our colleague from Liechtenstein, Mr. Büchel, whether whether this is correct what I say or not?
Yes, I agree. This is correct.
Okay, then we would vote on first on of the appointment, namely Article 10 and 11, 10.215, 216, and 11.35. Whether there is any opposition to this proposal, that here basically the Congress has the last word, but with different requirements as to who may propose such persons. Oops, yeah, not yet. Yeah. Sorry. Here again, this is the text which is proposed by the Council to be included in the statutes.
Today it was just the council. Are there any objections to these texts? Please raise your hand. Okay, then we continue with the tasks of the independent FIS Ethics and Compliance Officer. And here the only change, or the basic change, is mainly the term of his office, that this should be 2 years with the possibility of re-election of 2 more terms. And then B, that is probably the most central point, he shall operate independently and is not subject to instructions of the Congress, the Council, or the Secretary General, which includes also FIS staff. And the last point is that the task of the investigator is terminated, comes to an end when he has prepared a final report upon the investigation on the ethical issues. And it is then up to the procedural rules for the of the ethics committee how this will be presented to the FIS ethics committee. It's not the investigator himself who then goes to the courthouse and presents the report, but he delivers it, and then it will be represented by legal counsel before the FIS Ethics Committee. Are there any questions to this point, to this proposal? If there is any opposition to this proposal, then please raise your hand. If not, then this is accepted, and you're almost through. When it comes to the ethics committee, also here we have an amendment which concerns the number of the members and the term of the members of the ethics committee, which is in paragraph A. And then we have to delete a duplication, namely D, C and D say practically the same. C said, if you look at the present statutes, shall receive the report from the investigator, which is not the case. The report will be presented by the legal counsel on order of the FIS, but FIS cannot say no. So if you do not agree with this clarification of 15.2.4, then please raise your hands. If there is no opposition, then this is deemed accepted. We have, that is already no longer necessary because of the withdrawal of the proposals. Then the last one, and then there is one after that, but the last one in my list is the dispute resolution. Here we only have to fill a gap in the text, namely that the statutes also decide who is competent for dispute resolution, and not only FIS rules and regulations. So if you object to this filling the gap, then please raise your hand. I don't see any objection, so that has been accepted as well. So we have one left over, that is 10.9.2. Can you show up the next one? Okay. 10.9.2. We have this question, and it is an open secret that, of course, it was the last year's Congress which triggered considerations. What is actually leaving a Congress? And we don't want to dig out old dead bodies, but for the future, I think it's important to make it very, very clear what is leaving a Congress. And that is the proposal of the Council. When is a NSA considered having left the Congress? And that is the text. So if the member association wishes to leave the Congress meeting before its conclusion, it must log out from the electronic voting system. That is important. But the member can re-enter the Congress meeting by logging in again to the voting system. So that is visible. In a physical Congress, if everybody is present, the leaving member should also notify the Secretary General and return any relevant access authorization. He can still come back, but the Secretary General should know, because we also have voting by hands and not only by the electronic system. And if we have, as today, a video conference, the leaving member must log out also from the video conferencing platform if this is different from the voting system. Are there any questions to this last point? Then
Mr. Sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Just one question in terms of understanding in the second part, the last sentence. What does it mean practically, obtain accreditation?
You may remember that sometimes we had a formal list of for a person present to sign in and sign off. Or if you remember last year, we had to get an accreditation to access the building at all. So any such, it must be really clear that the person has left and is not only went to the cafeteria. Okay.
Fine with me.
If anybody is against this proposal, then please raise your hand. I don't see opposition, therefore this has been accepted. And this brings me to an end, and I thank you very much for your patience and hand over back to the President.
So now we have, that concludes the voting on the statutory matters. We now move on to the proposals that have been submitted by the member NSAs and Council, not directly related to the statutes or rules. So there are 4 proposals that I will briefly introduce, and they can be found in the Congress book under section 8.1 through 8.4. The first proposal is in regards to the FIS World Championships under 8.1, which was brought forward by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. The second proposal, 8.2, falls under the same theme. Sorry, not the same theme, under the theme World Cup calendars, and it was also proposed by Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Item 8.3, FIS disciplines, was proposed by Austria and Switzerland. And finally, under 8.4, you can find the final NSA proposal, which is in regards to ski cross, brought forward by Austria, France, and Germany. I would now ask the delegates if they have any questions about any of the proposals. Mr. Scherer.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I'd like to inform you that we will withdraw item number 8.3, FIS disciplines, to make it more efficient. And then we want to make a short explanation about item 8.1, the FIS World Championships. I think we should equally treat all our FIS World Championships. We know from the past that for Alpine and Nordics, during the candidature process, the figures, the terms and conditions were always available to the candidates, whereas in other disciplines, especially snowboard and freestyle skiing, as well as some other disciplines when it comes to ski flying world ski championships, unfortunately, it was mainly only a percentage of the revenue, and therefore I think in such difficult times it is necessary that an LOC, an organizer, knows the conditions and at least a financial minimum guarantee to organize an event, and therefore I hope that the Congress and the member federation see it the same way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scherer. So this was discussed at the council meeting yesterday, and on a council level, we will, at the next council meeting, discuss a framework for how we should best deal with this matter. So if you still think it's needed to have a vote on the matter, we can do so, but it is on the council agenda.
Dear Mr. President, thank you very much for this important information. In case it will be handled on the next council meeting, we will withdraw our motion and we will leave it up to the council to propose a solution in this respect. So we will withdraw this motion.
Thank you for that, Mr. Scherer. Then on the other topics here, I also want to mention ski cross, that we have a similar position here, that this is something that is on the agenda for the council. So I invite you to withdraw that pending the council recommendation. Because in any event, I don't think what has been put forward is necessarily, shall we say, entirely thought through. How, if it is to be a standalone discipline, how that would actually happen. It takes quite a lot of work to arrive to a concrete proposal. So, do you wish to proceed with a vote on this proposal?
I think Fabien has raised his hand. Mr. Saguier from France.
Fabien.
Yeah, good morning, President. Good morning, everyone. Just to clarify this proposal, more on behind of this proposal, it's more to clarification of the position of the ski cross, because we are not, I don't think so, the people from this community of the ski cross find a real, they know the real position. They are in freestyle or Alpine or standalone. On behalf of this, it's more a clarification of this.
Yes, and let me say this, I wholeheartedly agree with your position. And we need to make sure that ski cross has a place that it deserves. And it is something which the council recognizes, and but I'd say here at the same time it's important that we consult with the athletes, we consult with NSAs, we consult with experts to make sure that we have the best possible solution for how to go forward.
Okay, thank you.
So can I take it that you withdraw this proposal pending council review? Thank you for that.
Yeah, we can withdraw the proposal.
Thank you, Fabien. That leaves two items. World Cup calendars. So let me address World Cup calendars. So here again at the council level, we have agreed to look at how we can best take this forward. It is important here to take many things into consideration. Planning, one. Secondly, with the climate change issues that we currently will face also in the future, that we have a calendar planning that faces the challenges, that will also drive investment and also in terms of sustainability. So here the proposal is that, again, we need to review this. We need to come up with a recommendation for how we can best do this. And as I said, this is on the council agenda. So here again, I would suggest to invite you to withdraw this proposal pending the council review.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this explanation, and also that the council acknowledged the importance of this question, because this proposal is in my view, one of the most important, and it will help all of us, because since years we speak about having a long-term calendar, and last year already it was promised that in 1 year time we will be there and planning more long-term. In this sense, accepting this and having a long-term calendar will solve many discussions and problems we suffered the last year. Especially for the organizer, it will give a lot of planning security, and also for all the other stakeholders like the NSAs, the teams, but also investments in infrastructure can be made easier, improvement in developments when you speak about marketing and TV production and so on. The list is very long. Who would benefit out of this? And establish a long-term calendar is not an easy task. I agree, we have to consider many, many issues, but it is also not rocket science in my view, and many other sports are doing it as well. So these factors are very relevant to determine the calendar and that we know it in advance. And therefore, we are very much in favor to having a clear roadmap to have, as written in the proposal, until the next Congress, a 4 years long-term calendar. Thank you.
Well, I hear you on that, and let me say thank you for that. And we will come up with a recommendation, and that will take into consideration the many factors that play part here. And yeah. Any other questions on this? Mr. Shearer?
Dear Mr. President, thank you very much for once again provide me the floor. I think also already mentioned by our friend from Switzerland, long-term calendar planning is essential nowadays in order to improve the quality of the events through planning securities on the one hand, and also, and I think we all are looking into this possibility to optimize the commercial possibilities on the other hand. And therefore, as it was already promised last year, we would really want to have a vote on this proposal so that we really are all of the opinion that this is crucial for the future development of our beloved sports and to improve the condition, especially for our athletes as well as for our organizers and the thousands of volunteers supporting the organization of our events. So therefore, we are really asking for a vote on this proposal.
Mr. Lunde.
Dear Mr. President, thank you very much. Just from Norway also, we highly support Switzerland and Austria in this matter. Long-term calendars is extremely important for all organizing nations. So we would also like to have a vote on this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bessman. And since you're on the line here, you had something in relation to item number 3 on the agenda.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Mr. President. Sweden supports the position that a long-term calendar is necessary. We have had a long-term calendar before, and we need it badly. It is vital for planning. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, Mr. President, council members, dear delegates, we also support the previous speakers and believe that long-term calendaring is essential to the efficient running of the World Cup. Thank you.
So let me say this, that from the council's point of view, it was decided that we should look at the many factors here and that the most constructive and productive way to move this forward is to assemble all those factors and based on those metrics come up with a formula, because this is not where all fits one or one fits all, but there are going to have to be variations on the theme. For instance, it would make sense for some of our competitions, yes, to have 4 years. But if we did that for everybody, there wouldn't be room for anyone else. It would mean that we would have a fixed calendar for 4 years with no possibility of making adjustments. And here it needs to set out parameters that are workable, and that is why the council feels that this proposal is not really taking those things into account. But that said, we are all in favor of finding a proper planning mechanism for this and give local organizers the assurances and also that future organizers sees what's necessary in order to become an event organizer for FIS. So with that, let's see, are there any other questions? Mr. Schwarzbach.
Yes, Germany strongly supports the proposal of the two nations, and we really would ask for a vote because the last years showed that the long-term calendar works pretty well and there's enough flexibility for another countries to come into the calendar. So we really would ask for a vote.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Suger, your hand is up again.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. I just disagree with your comment before. Our proposal does not misunderstand the criteria. We are fully in favor of what you mentioned, that we need to set up clear criteria for staging events and for building this long-term calendar. And the proposal gives also enough time until next year Congress to build up these criteria and to bring a suitable long-term calendar. Therefore, we really would like to have a vote on this. Thank you very much.
If that is the case, I don't think we need a vote. In that case, we are aligned. But that is not quite how the proposal reads, just to point that out. But if that is the case, I think certainly the council is also supporting that view. Unless
Mr. President, I think already the lengthy discussion shows the importance of this topic. And as you may read in our proposal, we already had the option that in exceptional cases, the FIS Council can change even a long-term calendar upon approval of the National Ski Association territory and after discussion with this National Ski Association. So therefore, once again, we would really want to have a vote on this, to have a clear guideline also for the council in respect to develop a long-term calendar.
Yeah, but Mr. Scherer, if we read your proposal, it says approved FIS long-term calendars shall only be changed in exceptional cases. In case changes are necessary, changes shall be executed in the first place. It sets conditions, precedent, and terms under which this can be done. And I don't think that is the rigidity that we want to work with. The principle here is that we want to work with a long-term calendar, and I fully support Mr. Suger's view on how he outlined it, which is very much the same view as the council has. So, I mean,
Mr. President,
perhaps
only one short comment when it brings me to the long-term calendar. It clearly shows in other international federations, for instance, in biathlon, where we have a 4 years long-term calendar, that it really works well. And we only have to do it as we did it in the past, where we had this kind of long-term calendars already, and we still had the flexibility. But still, I think it's up to us to ask for a vote, and we would really prefer that we will have a vote, and we really want that our proposal is also respected in this way. So thank you.
Okay, if you want to proceed to a vote, I can only say that, I say this to all nations, and that is that interpreting this proposal narrowly, it may have significant negative consequences for those nations who are not big nations with aspirations to do ski races. So with that in mind, I think on behalf of the council, unless the council has any different views, that we do have to recommend against your proposal. So let's proceed with a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the notary. Are you proposing to have a vote by a Lumi or a show of hands vote?
I think in this case, Lumi.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we will now proceed to the vote, which is in relation to the World Cup calendars. And the motion to vote on is as follows. Do you approve the proposal of Austria and Switzerland? And the vote is now open. The vote will close in 30 seconds. The vote will close in 10 seconds. The vote is now closed and the results will be displayed shortly. The results of the voting are as follows: yes 54, 47.79%, no 59, 52.21%. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. The next proposal from Austria and Switzerland with regards to FIS disciplines. As to confirm if you want to maintain this proposal or not?
This will be withdrawn.
This will be withdrawn. Thank you.
We will withdraw this proposal, Mr. President.
Thank you. That concludes item 8. And then we have item 9. Proposals by the member associations related to the rules. So the first one here is from Austria, Alpine World Cup national quota.
Dear Mr. President, we will withdraw this proposal.
Thank you. Proposal 9.2, composition of Germany, composition of jury by Germany. Do you want to maintain this proposal? Yes, but it was discussed. And this is supported by the Council. So any objections to this proposal? Raise your hands. No, withdrawn. I don't see any objections. Mr. Robinson.
Yes, Mr. President, council members, and I support this proposal. We support this proposal, but we do believe that following this, it should be discussed regarding the chairmanship of juries. And our view is that the TD should be confirmed in all cases as the chairman of juries. Thank you.
Yes. So any objections to this? So with that addition, so I take that as approved. Then we have the next proposal, also supported by the Council, which is in relation to appeals against jury decisions, especially in head-to-head events. Any objections? Supported by the Council. Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, we'd like to make the point that we believe that the fundamental right of appeal should be contained in the statutes, and that in the case of the proposal that was submitted, it refers specifically to cross events. There may be other events within the FIS family where this would require and warrant further discussion. We also have concerns that if you remove the right to appeal decisions, even in the head-to-head events, that this means that cases could be taken to the civil courts, and it's our opinion that such matters should be dealt with within the sports system. And by changing the 200 rules to disallow appeals to juries' decisions, we may see more matters taken up in the public court systems, and that is not in the FIS's best interest. So therefore, we would propose that this be referred back to the committees and council. As well, 2024 season is not an Olympic or World Championships year, so the urgency for this matter to be resolved in terms of those major events is not critical, and we could take the next year to have that further reviewed within the committees and council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Well, I put that back to Germany. Do Germany wish to withdraw the proposal, or do you wish to proceed with it? Mr. Schwarzbach?
We would like to maintain the proposal.
Okay. So I didn't see any objections. So on that basis, the proposal has been approved, which does not preclude going forward with what Mr. Robinson suggested for the coming year. That concludes the proposals by the member associations. Then we have item 10, which is the Olympic Winter Games. And here, let me say that we have been taking a very active part, particularly in sustainability issues. There is an ongoing discussion about how to make the Winter Games more sustainable and to find the right path in terms of organization and venues. And also say that we have maintained very close contact in relation to the sanctions against Russian and Belarusian athletes, and that the relationship here has been very close. If we look here ahead, we have the 2026 games coming up, and you have a report in the Congress book about how that is progressing. 2030 has not yet been awarded, and we're pleased to see that there are many interested parties, and not only for 2030, but there's already strong interest for 2034. Any questions here? Okay. In that case, let's move to agenda item 10. No, that the reports you have in the back. Then we can go to item 11. And the same here, you have reports on all the championships. Yes, they're all in the back of the Congress book. Yes, yes. Now let me also say here with a special mention that the 2023 FIS World Championships were all carried out at a very high level and showcased all our disciplines beautifully. And I would personally like to thank all the organizers, national ski associations, volunteers, and of course the athletes for making the highlight events of our 23 season truly memorable and successful. And let me single out here Courchevel, and thank you, Michel, for coming up with the idea in the first place. Was, I think, the best Alpine World Championships I've ever been to, and this has been echoed by most people, if not all. We had incredible weather, and the organization was impeccable. We had Planetza, also great organization, and we made these strides in sustainability, which was great to see. I also had the pleasure of visiting Bakuriani, and this, for me, was very important. This shows that everything is possible. This is a country which is very new to our events and our sport, and they did a great job pulling a world championship together for the first time, really outside, shall we say, our normal comfort zone of organizing events. It shows to everybody out there that everything is possible. So I would also like to especially thank all the organizers of the World Championships, because they too did an amazing job. Now we have videos from the organizers, so let's put that on. The 47th FIS Alpine World Ski Championships hereby open.
Un œil sur le siège et puis un œil sur la course.
Les 2-3 entrées de filaire là.
Pour prendre une maille en bas et une maille en haut.
C'est une grosse journée aujourd'hui.
Viens devant. Non. Ah,
il est incroyablement difficile, ça tape très très fort à 120 km/h.
Fabian, do you have some?
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, dear Council member. A quick report from Courchevel-Méribel World Championships 23. It was an exceptional event, an exceptional weather, thanks to the lock, Perrine PLN, especially in Bernard-Front, thanks to the two community, Courchevel and Méribel, and thanks to the FIS. It was really great to work with the FIS staff during this long period of preparation. I can say it was probably one of the best World Championships that I can live. It was unbelievable weather during these 2 weeks. Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. Also, with a really huge challenge, it was completely a new concept with 2 ski resorts. Well, easy to accept this idea at the beginning, but I can say it was the best choice we can have to do because in the technical terms, even with this weather, we can have the best preparation for the racer on the both sides for the ladies and the men. Next slide, please. An impressive number of nations. I can say also we worked really hard on the World Championships to have all the nation in the center of the event. It means qualification on site in the center of the village of Courchevel, for example. It means respect of the small nation. A huge number, close to 80 nations during these 2 weeks. Huge number of hours in terms of value, volunteers hours, and also a huge number of accreditation, close to 8,000. Next slide, please. Next slide. Thank you. An important topic was the sustainability. You can say we try to achieve a goal to reduce the sustainability of the footprint carbon by 2. It's close to 40% less than the projection done after the finals. And it means a lot of effort, and I can say, find a good way to organize the sustainable event on the future. It's just the beginning, but this effort, it's really good for us. Next slide. And I would like to say thank you again to everybody, and to say thanks to the volunteers, and thank you all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Fabien. Thank you very much. And again, congratulations to wonderful World Championships. And thank you also to Perrine and her entire team for providing such great 2 weeks of Alpine action, and I can also say that we had the great honor and pleasure to host the IOC president Thomas Bach, and he really enjoyed himself and thought that the World Championships were fantastic. I would now like to hand the floor over to our Nordic friends in Planica. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Dear President, distinguished council members, Congress delegates and guests, on behalf of the organizing committee Planica 2023, I would like to thank to all important stakeholders which helped and supported us in order to prepare a successful FIS Nordic World Ski Championships Planica 2023. Please allow me to present you a short video report with some important figures of the championships, which was organized in a very sustainable manner, executed according to the full competition program with 24 new world champions, and concluded with high team ratings, and the last but not the least, with positive financial impact supported by the Slovenian government. Thank you, and let's see the movie.
Schau jetzt recht das Ding, was?
floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you to the entire team in Planitza for hosting very professional and organized event. And now it's time for Bakuriani to provide their report. Over to Bakuriani, or to Georgia.
Freestyle and Snowboard World Championship will be organized in Georgia. Bakuriani.
Fantastic job done by the organising committee.
International spare. Georgia is skiing country.
ეს არის აქვართ ბაკურიანში. წლების მანძილზე გაწეული უდიდესი სამუშაო. უძილო ღამეები, ემოციები და 500-ზე მეტი ადამიანის ყოველდღიური შრომა აქ უნდა გამოჩნდეს. ბაკურიანი 2023-ში. ამ მთებმა, ამ ხალხმა და ამ ქვეყანამ მსოფლიო ჩემპიონატი დაიმსახურა. ასე რომ მოდი ვისიამოვნოთ ყოველი წამით და დავიკავოთ კუთვნილი ადგილი ზამთრის სპორტის დიდ ოჯახში. მოდი ვისრიალოთ. საოცარი დღეები იყო. 700-ზე მეტი სპორტსმენის დაძაბული შეჯიბრებები. ემოციების ზღვა და ბაკურიანის ფერდობებზე გაფანტული უამრავი ადამიანი. სწორედ ასე დაგვამახსოვრდება ბაკურიანი 2023. მაგრამ რაც ყველაზე ძვირფასია, ეს არის მემკვიდრეობა, ინფრასტრუქტურა, ტრასები და უდიდესი გამოცდილება, რომელიც საშუალებას მისცემს ახალგაზრდებს გაყვნენ საუკეთესო სპორტსმენების ნაკვალევს და ადრე თუ გვიან მათაც შექმნან მემკვიდრეობა, დატოვონ საკუთარი კვალი. და ეს ისტორია აღარასოდეს უნდა დასრულდეს.
Well, again, thank you. Over to you. Surab.
Thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yes, very well.
Dear Mr. President, dear Vice Presidents, dear Council members, dear Secretary General, National Ski Association representatives, future and past organizers, dear colleagues and dear friends. Allow me to convey greetings to you. It brings me a great privilege and honor to speak before you and share the highlights of the World Championship Bakuriani 2023. This event holds a special place for Georgia as the first ever multi-winter sports event. However, the road to this occasion was not without challenges, including the global pandemic and unfavorable weather conditions. Well, I would say that many people were skeptical about our readiness, and even our FIS colleagues may have felt uncertain at some point because of many reasons involving some delays. And I even remember those online meetings where we were forced to discuss backup plans and alternative solutions, including but not limited to even splitting the event with other hosts. But we had a confidence saying that, hey, we will give it our all and host the World Championships at the highest level. Let's unite forces, energy, and make it happen. And today we are grateful for trust, for all trust that you all place in us. And our primary goal with the World Championships Bakuriani was to develop winter sports spirit in the country, encourage youngsters towards winter sports, enhance the sports and tourism infrastructure, putting Georgia on the world map of major winter sports events. And this goal was achieved through unwavering governmental support and substantial financial investments. I won't highlight with every detail as the final report is already published, but let me take a moment to highlight the financial commitments we made. We allocated up to 92 million to be more precise, euros for infrastructure, including courses, artificial snowmaking systems, and the creation of artificial water reservoirs, 2 beautiful artificial lakes. We also built 3 new ski lifts, a competition village. Additionally, we dedicated up to 16 million euros for competition equipment, machinery, including 6 newest models of snow grooming machines, snow blower machines, snowmobiles, as well as for organization, operations, and events. For 18 days, we witnessed the participation of 642 athletes, 42 teams across 7 disciplines, with 30 finals and 111 medals. Now I assume that I have a possibility to share my screen. Oh, not yet. All right, no problem. Now, to reinforce the spirit of the championships in Bakuriani, we created a visitors village that became a hub of entertainment, offering live concerts, side activities, a food court, and live streaming of the races. And this very village hosted the official opening ceremony as well. To ensure smooth transportation and avoid traffic congestion that is common for Bakuriani, we implemented an altered local transportation plan, and sensitive routes leading to the boat competition venues were regulated during competition hours, and access was strictly controlled with vehicle access passes, reinforced municipal transportation to minimize discomfort caused by these limitations. We dedicated 94 hours of TV production, including coverage for judges, and provided 56 hours of live programming to 32 broadcasters worldwide. As regarding the meals, we served approximately 18,000 meals in specialized tents for athletes, volunteers, staff, media personnel, and VIP guests. The Bakuriani 2023 Local Organizing Committee, under the guidance of the FIS, acted in compliance with the fundamental principles of Universal Code of Ethics. We worked closely with the National Anti-Doping Agency of Georgia, who provided services to ensure fair competition. The event welfare officer appointed by the LOC worked under the guidance of the FIS lead welfare officer. And to guarantee the event safety and security, Georgian law enforcement agencies monitored and maintained overall security. In alignment with the 2020 FIS Mainau Manifesto, all activities related to the World Championships were conducted with a focus on minimizing the impact on the environment. Just a few words regarding the challenges, including the challenges caused by the pandemic throughout the world, did not affect Georgia's decision to develop the winter sports, as Georgia was committed to firmly landing into the FIS family, creating new opportunities to athletes and reinforcing its place on the world map of sports and tourist destinations. If you would allow me to speak regarding the legacy left by the Bakuriani World Championships, is remarkable. We leave behind exceptional courses, I would say state-of-the-art infrastructure and cutting-edge equipment. The event boosted a renewed interest in winter sports among the younger generation and encouraged participation as volunteers. And these championships serve as a catalyst for the development of disciplines such as slopestyle and ski cross, where 6 Georgian athletes competed. And this achievement is particularly significant given the fact that our team in these disciplines has only existed for the past 2 years. But the legacy does not end here. These championships have also provided us with huge experience, enabling us to organize future multi-winter sport events at a professional level. Another important legacy is the confidence for Georgia to set its place on the map of the world sports destination, and the reinforced support, this is most important, from the government for the future multi-sport events. And these legacies are the bridge to our future long-term plans that will affect not only Bakuriani, but all ski resorts of Georgia. That includes multi-year projects of hosting World Cups in various disciplines starting later this year, And furthermore, Georgia will host the European Youth Olympic Festival in 2025. And I could say that I'm a proud representative of its newly established organizing team. In conclusion, I would say that Bakuriani 2023 World Championships have not only been a great success, but have also left behind a long-lasting legacy that will shape our countries, as well as it will contribute to the world sport development for years to come. Now, allow me, on behalf of the organizing committee, Mountain Trails Agency, Georgian Ski Federation, and all stakeholders, to express heartfelt thanks to you, President Elias, for your continued support, for the meaningful remarks as well you shared earlier during the Congress. To you, Mr. Dean Gosper and Mrs. Fiona Stevens, we sincerely appreciate your thoughtful and positive assessment of the championships, your constant assistance. To you, Secretary General Michel Vion, for standing shoulder to shoulder with us. To you, the FIS directors, members of our team, for sharing every joyful or challenging moment. To the greater FIS team, to my esteemed colleagues and friends and the entire local organizing committee. Special thanks I would like to render to the international expert team members and countless others who invested all their energy and heart into making these championships an unforgettable emotion, as well as to the volunteers for their support and to everyone who played a part in this great happening. Thank you once again for being a part of this incredible adventure. Together we have made history.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And also, thank you to the organizers of the Ski Flying World Championship 24 Ski Flying World Championships in Bad Mittendorf, Kulm, in Austria. You have the report on the Freestyle, Snowboard and Free Ski World Championships 25 in Engadin, and the Alpine Championships in Saalbach 25, the Nordic Disciplines 25 in Trondheim, the Ski Flying World Championships 26 in Oberstdorf, and last but not least, the Alpine World Ski Championships 27 in Crans-Montana. So with that, let's move to point number 12. The International Ski Calendar. So, So the FIS Council proposes to proceed as in previous years and submits the following proposal: to publish the International Ski Calendar 23-24 on the FIS website and to keep it continuously updated, to publish one edition of the FIS Bulletin per year and on a regular basis, the FIS Newsflash via email and on our website. The FIS Book of Reports for the last period was published last week on the FIS website. As mentioned before, this is in line with what has been done in previous years. Please raise your hand if you're opposed to accepting Proposal 12. I don't see any hands, so that is approved. That means we can move to item 13. Affiliation and exclusion of member associations. We have no changes to the current FIS membership, so we can move on to the next agenda item, which is reports on the accounts, report of the auditors, vote on the adoption of the accounts since the last financial period. Are these reports approved? I don't see any hands raised. I see one hand raised, Mr. Scherer.
Dear Mr. President, thank you very much for the floor. as you are well aware, on May 22nd, 16 nations has signed in a letter with some question concerning the accounts of the year 2022, and therefore we would like to ask if you could probably answer this question now for the entire FIS family, or how we should proceed with this question in regard to the financial documents and these questions.
Well, Mr. Scherer, unfortunately the treasurer is not here, but that's not an impediment. Yes, we did receive that letter, and I assume, Mr. Scherer, that you do know that you have there is an Austrian council member on the FIS Council. And in case you don't know, it is Mr. Patrick Ortlieb. Or
yes, but I think, and we all know.
But do we have common ground here?
Some nations do not have the privilege to have a council member, so I think it would be still a show of respect to at least to address some questions we have raised.
Yes, Mr. Scherer, but let's just establish this, and that is that you sent that letter after you presumably knew the answers to a lot of the questions that you asked, because these were questions that the council members had, and we reiterated this yesterday during the council meeting to make sure that you had all the information. But for the avoidance of any doubt, and of course for the wider audience here, if they are interested, we don't have a problem at all to go through your questions. So let me pull this up. So the first question I believe you had was why we have not enacted the IFRS accounting standard. And it is correct that, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Council now, and this was already deliberated and proposed at the Council meeting in Andorra in March. And before that in Sölden 9 months ago. So I assume you are aware of this, but nevertheless, the considered view by experts, our auditors, also the treasurer and I'd say the finance committee, the executive committee and the council is that the IFRS implementation would be very costly and operationally cumbersome. And if we look here at the benefits of IFRS for FIS, there aren't really any benefits. It's a different system that you use. And I'm very familiar with it personally because I have operated with IFRS since the day it came out. And the main differences are in valuation of intellectual property rights. And that has very little relevance for FIS. And on this basis, it was the considered view of all these bodies that have been consulted that it didn't make any sense for FIS to proceed with this and that we should spend this money in a better fashion.
This is very much appreciated and I think supported, and as we also have agreed today on this change in the the statutes again, but I think it's well worth to say that it would have been nice to be informed already at the Milano Congress in May 2022, because there we already had more than 5 months where the standard should have been implemented already. So, but anyway, I think we all agree that it is better now to change again to Swiss GAAP.
Thank you for that. The next point is, has the Audit Committee discussed the matter of IFRS accounting? Yes, they have done so, and that meeting took place on May 22nd. The next question after that, where you asked about the comparison, and this was drawn up by the auditors. And historically here, the accounting period was 24 months. And this changed from fiscal year 2022. And we can deliberate here and have different opinions on which year would have been a better comparison. In any event, we shall make a point here that going forward, we'll always make prior year comparisons. We also have decided to appoint new auditors, since Vistag are time expired by statute. And the decision of the council yesterday was to appoint PwC as auditors going forward. And with that, I would also like to say great thank you, in fact, a huge thank you to Vistag for their services and their dedication to FIS all these years. Now, the next question is the reconciliation of the P&L to the change in the equity account. And here you have a difference which is described in distribution of profit of 23 million Swiss francs. And that is attributed to the 15 million special distribution to the NSAs paid out in 21 and 22, and the 8 million allocation to the prize money fund that we had for COVID to support local organizers with the prize money. The next point here is the reduction of reserves, and this is relating to the securities portfolio that FIS has had. And this goes back to the COVID, and the starting date is 2021, before the previous regime and management of FIS. The markets, they declined significantly during the shutdowns of COVID, and they declined significantly further following the war in Ukraine. And that is the explanation behind that. Now, during 22, it was decided by the Council, the Executive Committee, and the Finance Committee to change the investment policy and invest in AAA-rated government bonds and cash. And subsequently, we have liquidated the securities portfolios and reinvested some of the proceeds in short-dated government bonds. So dollars we hold in UST bills, euros in German bonds. And what we've also done is here to cancel the investment mandates that we had with UBS and Credit Suisse, which costs together about 1 to 1.2 million per year, so a significant saving. And I should also mention here that when the financial stability of Credit Suisse started to deteriorate, and this was way before the collapse of Credit Suisse, we decided to move substantially all funds from the Credit Suisse bank accounts to UBS. And we'll say that with the benefit of hindsight, this proved to be a wise decision by all involved. So I hope that answers all your questions.
Dear Mr. President, thank you very much for this detailed information. I think it's good to have this transparent information. I think the entire FIS family has appreciated now this transparent information. So thank you once more again for your words and explanations.
Thank you. Thank you. So with that, unless there are any questions on the accounts, the reports of the auditors, I would propose to move to the next agenda item. They are approved. If there are anyone objecting, raise your hands. Thank you for that. Let's move to...
Mr. President.
Yes.
Just as a matter of formality, since the Treasurer is not here, for the reasons explained by you and confirmed by Mr. Scherer, the Congress is asked to formally amend Article 15(2.3.3) of the Statutes, because there we still refer to the IFRS. And
that is correct, yes.
Yeah, and
so we can do that here. So
yeah.
Does anyone have any objections to that? I see no raised hands, so I take that as approved. Thank you very much.
That's approved. We should have a vote for IFRS.
That's approved now. Okay. Then the next agenda item is number 15. Annual subscriptions, calendar fees, and other financial obligations. No change here against, except for parasports. So unless there are any objections, in which case raise your hands. No objections, so I take that as approved. Then we have item 16, budget for the next financial period. So let's get the budget up on the screen. And again, here the treasurer is not here, but we'll step in here and go through that. The budget for 24 is balanced. I would say here that doing a budget so far out before the beginning of the year necessitates having provisional sums for a number of items which we don't release depending on strategic objectives and what the Council decides to do over a number of items in the future. Are there any questions on the budget? Mr. Süger.
Thank you very much for presenting the budget. It is very not clear visible, at least on my screen, and as we did not receive it in front of the Congress, it is quite difficult to give now a clear statement on that. At least me, I was not aware that the budget was sent out together with the Congress documents.
Right, it should have been, but I would suggest here that if there are any objections to the budget, or details that you would like to have, that please send us questions in writing and we'll submit further detail. Mr. Scherer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think, as I can see on the screen, the NSA support is about 5 million. I think we all, the National Ski Association, are having hard times due to the cost development, inflation, and everything. And I think we would really appreciate if FIS could reconsider the financial support to the National Ski Association. And we wish you all the best, that you find new sources of income to support the foundation, the National Ski Federation, even in a better way in the future. But we really are thankful for the consistent support and financial support of the
and high inflation, that we should take a second look at the NSA support later on in the year, particularly as I think 23 we're way ahead of budget to the tune of, I believe, close to 8 million. And perhaps reconsider this, and that we can do by a circular resolution to all NSAs to increase this amount.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So if there are no objections, I take it that the budget 24 is approved. If you have any objections, raise your hands. There are no objections. Thank you very much. Then we can move on to, sorry, yes, Mr. Schwarzbach.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. President, but I hope you understand that it's really hard to judge and to approve the budget if we don't have the information, and it's approved only just 2 minutes before. So I would really ask to do appropriate vote on this.
Okay. In that case, let's, Mr. Süger.
But in this case, we need time to check the balances and the budgets.
Mr. Süger.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would recommend a circular vote on it as soon as we get it and find some time to go through it, because just seeing it a few seconds on the screen on this level is difficult to approve it, at least for me and with my understanding.
The one thing I should point out is that this is for review by the Congress. It's not for approval by the Congress, and that the budget has been approved by the Council. And that is why what I would suggest here is that if any of you have any questions, want more details, we're more than happy to answer questions. But this is not the subject matter for approval. Mr. Süger.
Thank you very much. Just for my understanding, maybe I missed this point. So the Council yesterday approved the budget, and they received a detailed budget before.
Niklas?
We had a finance committee yesterday morning where we went through the details. Unfortunately, the treasurer not here. So that was where it was approved, and it was presented yesterday to the council and approved there. And then the Congress have the task to review the budget according to the statutes.
Okay, as I said, anybody who has any questions on the budget, please feel free to ask those, and we will, of course, reply. The next item is bearing of costs at FIS World Cup events.
Advertising sales houses. This one.
Sorry, I got that slightly out of order. The next one is 16.2.1, which is advertising and series sponsors at World Cup events. Does Austria still wish to proceed with this motion?
Well, dear Mr. President, I think this motion is more of a clarification. So I think we all are aware that the cost for organizing events have rising sharp in the recent years, and therefore it's extremely difficult to organize events in a way that covers the costs. Our proposal should, on the one hand, define more clearly that FIS can keep 100% of all proceedings from title sponsorings, and that the other hand, that the organizer/NSA receive a corresponding financial share from other central marketing sponsorship rights. For instance, we already have this with the Longines situation in Alpine skiing. So far, the central sponsor package in ski jumping fully belongs to the FIS. And it's difficult that we treat several disciplines a different way. So for us, it would be clear and fair if it's clear and it's written in the rules that 100% of all proceedings from title sponsorings belongs to the FIS, and from all other central marketing sponsorship rights that there is a corresponding financial share for the organizer.
My question is, for the purposes of, we're always open to discussing these items, but for the purpose of proposals and a vote on this proposal, is that something that you're requesting, or are you withdrawing this for voting?
In case the FIS Council would discuss this at one of its next meeting and then present a proposal, we would withdraw. So if you can confirm that the FIS Council is taking care of this, we would withdraw now this proposal.
That is confirmed.
Thank you.
The next one is bearing of costs at FIS World Cup events.
This is a similar one. It's more or less only a clarification, and to make it also clear which officials the organizer should bear the costs and which officials the FIS is bearing the cost. So far we don't have these clear rules in place. It's only stipulated in the organizer contract and in the hosting contract, and I think it would be great if the FIS Council can do an overview about the different officials and who is bearing the costs of them. And if the FIS Council could do this, we would also withdraw this proposal.
So here all I can say is that the FIS Council has already discussed this in detail and came to the conclusion that they would not support your proposal. So if we were to go back and discuss this again, I'm just telling you that it's likely to be an exercise in futility.
So we will withdraw this proposal, even though I think, I have honestly to say, it seems that the intention of our proposal was not well taken, because it is clear that we always have this kind of discussion when we receive the organizer agreement. I think therefore it should be also considered in the FIS Council, but anyway, we will withdraw our proposal.
Thank you for that. Then we have support of national federations' use of FIS reserves. So this proposal was deliberated during the last council meeting, and let me just say here that it's important that we don't confuse accounting reserves with an accounting activity in relation to cash, because cash at the end of the day is fungible. And as long as that is the case, it doesn't really matter where the cash comes from. And an acquisition, that is done through cash. We're not paying with reserves, but we're paying with cash. So therefore, I believe in the first instance here, the question might have been directed differently. So I don't think this is suitable, the way it's worded, to be voted on. So I would invite you to withdraw this and reconsider. Any comments on that?
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you for your explanation. I would really love to discuss it probably more in detail with the FIS management to find a way that we have kind of a better understanding on the intention of our proposal. And if you could confirm that we're gonna will do this in the next few weeks, we would withdraw our proposal. I think it is clear that the support of the National Federation should keep at the same level as it is nowadays, and even though, and probably we could even make more financial resources available to the national ski associations.
That is clear. That's what we're here for, is to make sure that we benefit the sport as much as possible. If it is making distributions or doing acquisitions that can benefits our future, or having creating special reserves to support local organizers, prize money. All of this is really important for our entire ecosystem and future development. So on that, there is no lack of commitment, and we are always open to good suggestions, constructive suggestions, anytime. So
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your efforts and the ones from the council are very well appreciated, and thank you on behalf of all National Ski Association for the financial support, and we look together to the future.
Good. So I take it that proposal is also withdrawn. The next one is financial year. And that is to change from calendar year to a seasonal year. The considered view of the council is that this definitely makes sense. It's actually one of the first things I thought of when it came to our accounting and the way we show our numbers, is that we are indeed seasonal, with our activities taking place on a seasonal basis, and where the year end is where the season ends. Now, it doesn't come completely without complications to change financial year, because we have approval processes, governance processes, that also needs to be taken into consideration. And here we intend to bring this up at the council level so that we can make a proposal as soon as possible for how we can do this in a sensible fashion.
Fine for us.
Thank you. Then I take that as withdrawn, and the council will come forward with a proposal for how we can hopefully implement this, subject to approval by the Congress. The next item, 17, is athletes representatives. So I'd like here that the Congress confirms the newly elected representatives from the Athletes Commission. That is Verena Stuffer and Alex Fiva. Verena, ex-athlete, Alpine athlete from Italy, and Alex, who is a ski cross athlete, still active. We're very lucky to have them both. I think they will make a great contribution to to our work. So may I propose them to you, and unless there are any objections, and in which case raise your hands. I do not see any objections, so we can consider their appointments approved. Next item is election of auditors for the next financial period. Following a decision by the Audit Committee, it has been proposed to appoint PwC as auditors for the next financial period. Any objections? Please raise your hands. I don't see any hands raised, so PwC are herewith appointed. Next point on agenda is any other business, appointment of honorary members. So there is one appointment that I would propose, which is slightly extraordinary. And let me give you some context. FIS travel has been part of our lives for many, many years, and more so the former proprietor, Heinz Gürtner. And today, FIS travel is 100% owned by FIS.
Not yet, it's not signed.
Okay, but he has signed. We have to sign. But as a token of our appreciation, I would like to put forward Heinz Gürtner as the FIS Honorary Travel Agent. And this is a motion which was unanimously supported by the Council yesterday. So, I see 0 objections, so Heinz Gürtner is now our Honorary Travel Agent. Congratulations, Heinz. So, with much further ado, it brings us to the closing of the Congress. The next Congress will take place on June 5 and 6 in Reykjavik, Iceland. And that is 2024. And for you who haven't not been there, I can tell you I've been there many times, and I'm sure our Icelandic hosts will give us a wonderful experience and a great time. We very much look forward to that. I should also mention here that the date of the 56th International Ski Congress 2025, that will be announced at a later time. And that will be done online, of course. And the 26th Congress, that was decided yesterday. And congratulations, Serbia, because the next Congress will be held after Reykjavik, will be held in 2026 in Belgrade. So with that, I think that concludes the agenda of the Congress, and I thank everybody for your participation, and very much look forward to the next year. Thank you. And with that, I declare the 2023 International Ski Congress closed.
Mr. President, if I may, just also to thank all the FIS staff for the perfect organization of this Congress. It was not an easy one. Online is always a challenge, so I want to thank all the FIS staff for perfect organization, and our partners, Senotech and Lumi, for also perfect support. So thank you to everyone.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody.